Okay, good evening. We are going to obviously start with our rock star John, who has been giving us fantastic information on what's happening on the ground, so I'm just going to turn it right over to him.
Thank you, Governor. The latest information on Matthew, it has weakened. It's now down to a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 110 miles an hour, so that is good news. However, it's already started to make its turn toward the north and will approach the area tonight and then pass just off or potentially right along the South Carolina coast, or at least parts of the South Carolina coast during the day tomorrow as a Category 1 hurricane. So not much change from the earlier track this morning, which is still somewhat concerning with the close passage of the hurricane. We still have hurricane warnings and storm surge warnings in effect for the entire South Carolina coast. We have a tornado watch now in effect for the southeastern part of the state that goes through midnight, and flash flood watches are up in effect pretty much from Rock Hill down through the Aiken area and everywhere east of there, where we expect the heaviest rainfall to occur. We're still expecting the greatest impact to be, one of the greatest impacts to be storm surge from the system. It could be a little deceiving knowing that the storm is weakened down to a Category 2 and by tomorrow might be down to a Category 1, but the storm surge isn't always directly related to the wind speeds. The storm was a Category 4 just yesterday, so that storm surge potential is much greater than what you might expect to see with just a Category 1 hurricane. Having said that, we're already having some reports of water crossing some of the causeways in Beaufort County and reaching homes on Edisto, so the water levels are already starting to rise. And we expect this surge to really start increasing tonight and tomorrow morning. In fact, we're calling for, in the southern part of the state, inundation as high as 6 to 9 feet above ground. And north of the Charleston area, you're probably still looking as high as 5 to 7 foot inundation. Again, that's water above the ground. So just try to visualize how high that water is. So if you're in a vulnerable location near the coast or even farther inland where the storm surge can reach you, you're talking pretty significant water levels. You need to be prepared for that. Again, water that high could cut off access to some islands and other communities. Rainfall, we're still expecting quite a bit of rainfall. Rain's already started to move into the area. Coastal areas could still see upwards of 8 to 14 inches of rain. And even if you live in the Midlands, we're still expecting quite a bit of rain, as much as 3 to 6 inches. And if that comes down fast enough, certainly we could have some flash flooding concerns. And as far as winds, we're actually already starting to see now some tropical storm force wind gusts reaching into the lower South Carolina coast. Down on Hilton Head, there was already a report of 48 mile per hour gust. Up on Johns Island, just outside of Charleston, winds are gusting to 36 miles an hour, so that's just below tropical storm force. We're already starting to see those winds advance into the state. And we'll see the winds continue to increase as we head through the evening, and especially during the overnight hours. And during the daytime tomorrow, we'll see our strongest winds, potentially at a hurricane force right along the coast, and stronger if the eye does move onshore. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So what basically we now need to be aware of is we are already seeing tornado watches, tornado warnings, storm surges starting to take effect. I believe that they already started saying that the water was going beneath the houses on Edisto Beach already, and so those things are going to continue. All eastbound lanes are now open and back to normal. We have had 355,000 people have now evacuated, which is up from this morning of 310,000. So that was good news from that standpoint. We are monitoring our high-level bridges, and we'll make sure that when they hit that point where we think they're unsafe, we will make sure that everyone is notified on those. All the transit providers have stopped any sort of activity, so there are no more transit providers that can get you to the shelters in those areas. We are positioning plans for post-storm, so while we are bracing ourselves for what's going to happen, law enforcement, National Guard, utilities, everybody is already starting their plans on what to do the second that we can get back in, and so that's being done pretty aggressively. We are now up to 2,500 guardsmen that we have activated, which is up from 2,000 this morning. All aircraft is grounded. We can no longer get in the air to help or assist with anything, so all of that is grounded. And as the storm progresses, what you're going to see is law enforcement's going to have to take shelter and do so accordingly. So in the areas that they're in, we're actually making sure that they have shelter and that they are safe until it is safe to come back out and start doing the search and rescue. We are continuing to watch the Edisto, the Black, and the Waccamaw rivers, which are starting to look concerning at this point, so we'll continue to keep you updated when we think those are reaching dangerous levels. As of now, we have 69 shelters open, plenty of availability in any of those shelters. We currently have 4,249 residents in those shelters, and that's up from 2,822 this morning. So quite a big increase into our shelters. There's plenty accessibility into most of those shelters. The highest populated that we're seeing are at North Charleston High School and Ridgeland High School, are the ones that we're seeing the most activity in. We still have our 2 pet-friendly shelters now that are open, one in Spartanburg and one in Somerville, and there is lots and lots of room. So no matter how many pets you have, there's room, and it's not wall-to-wall booked. So we do want you to know that if that's the reason you're holding back, we do want you to take advantage of that. We have 7 special needs facilities that are open. We have 3 more on standby and 36 residents at this point in those facilities. We have evacuated or in the process of evacuating 174 medical facilities now at this point. And for the Fripp Island residents, they have now turned the water off. So they are now under water advisories. We will continue to let you know as those water advisories happen, as I think that they will increase going forward. But the residents of Fripp Island have been notified and are aware. Most counties have put into place curfews. So what we are asking citizens to do is please heed the warnings of your county. Please look at what the curfew times are. Really, the best thing now is to just hunker down, stay in a safe place, don't move, don't try and move around. Make sure you have your cell phones charged as best you can, because you don't know when you're going to lose that power. Be prepared for flooding. If you are in a low-lying area or in any of those coastal areas, get to your highest floor of your house. If you are in a 1-story house and you're in some of those barrier islands or low-lying areas, we ask that you go to a neighbor that has a higher, that has more floors, so that you can get to higher ground, as we think that's going to really be a problem.